Turn on your microphone.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm talking. We'll call a meeting to order, and I guess I'm supposed to review the names, everybody's names, and looks like we're all here today. Grant Nienhaus is on the end down there, and Barbara, we're glad to have you here, back here, I guess. You were somewhere else for a while, weren't you? Oh, another meeting, okay. But yeah, everyone else is here, so thank you very much. Let's see. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? We actually didn't have the last meeting because we didn't have a quorum. So what are we asking for?
So we did meet on December 9th. It was
Okay.
a previous meeting where we didn't have the quorum.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Okay. That answers my next question. So, has everyone had a chance to take a look at the notes from, well, the meeting notes from our December 11th meeting? It says December 11th.
Yeah, I move that we accept the minutes from the December 9th meeting as submitted.
The minutes say the 11th. Is that wrong, or?
That,
Well, my copy does. Okay.
yeah, no, the 9th is.
Okay, do we have anyone participating via remote or submitted comments to this committee?
No, there's nobody participating remotely, and there's no public comment that was sent to us.
Okay.
So I have moved that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving right along, I appreciate that. The master fee schedule is on here, and that has been passed on to the chamber, or the council for approval? Or what's the status?
The master fee schedule is from a previous meeting. That's moving forward later this month, I believe. But the minutes or the agenda for today has 3 items on it.
Yeah, one of them is the master fee schedule, but, or at least my copy of them.
Oh. Here, let me bring you up a new.
You have a different copy.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, that helps. Okay, that moves us along to the selection of the chair and vice chair. And I have checked with the vice chairman. He's willing to run again for that position, and I'm willing also. But are there any appointments for chair or vice chair from the dais?
Move nominations be closed with Mr. Beal as president and
Chairman.
chairman and vice chairman JJ.
Okay, it's been moved, and is there a second to that motion? Second? Anybody? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that that I continue on as chairman, and J.J. Jones will be the vice chairman. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I would be okay if somebody outvoted me. just so you know. And the storage, kayak storage area is also on my previous agenda. And I was just curious whether we had, one of the topics when that item came up was that we were going to do a survey of tenants or potential users of that to, fine tune the definition of what it might look like or how it might accommodate various uses and so forth. Has anybody submitted any comments about, or any further comments from the commission about what that might look like?
That is going to be one of the subcommittee items, which is on the agenda as well today. Our next agenda item is actually the meeting schedule,
Oh,
the
okay.
2025 meeting schedule. So as we break into subcommittees,
Got
and we'll talk in great deal about this in the probably next 5 or 10 minutes, that's one of the big things.
Okay. Yeah, it is a little confusing to have two different agendas here, but we'll make it work. Now, for public consumption, what agenda is appearing for anyone following along from the outside?
We're using the January 13th packet.
This one.
Okay. Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Would
All
you-
right.
If you need one, I can bring one up to you if you'd like.
No, thank you, I have one.
Okay.
Okay, any questions or comments about the kayak storage area? Have you received anything, Chris, or
No, no.
anybody have any thoughts or ideas about what it might do? Again, that's going to be assigned to a subcommittee?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Our calendar for the minutes, or I'm sorry, for these meetings is in your packet somewhere.
It's right there.
And they're typically the first Monday of the month or second Monday in a couple of occasions, but yeah.
So we are scheduled to meet the second Monday of each month. As per our previous discussions, went ahead and outlined the calendar to reflect the second Monday of each month for the next year. Having said that, we'll do our best in the summer months. We always need a quorum, and I know you guys like to use your boats, so that's a wonderful thing. And then also it gets super busy for staff to work on this stuff as well. But we did put them there, and if it becomes a problem, we can cancel them, although I believe it's the will of this commission that we have a meeting each month. At least have one scheduled and then see if we can make it happen, but the quorum could be a challenge sometimes.
Right. Does anybody have any comments on the calendar, that second Monday of each month, including July and August?
June, July,
right
and
now?
August, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a really good thing to put this down in writing. We lost our way for a period of time there when we were chasing the calendar.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we weren't able to meet. And I think this is really good. If we stick hard and fast to the second Monday at 3 p.m., we're good. That's going to help this commission. It's going to help the marina tenants, and it's going to help for public information.
Yeah, we went 5 months last year without a meeting
Yeah.
at a time when we really, there was a lot of stuff going on, and I like the schedule.
I do too.
Chris, is there anything we can do to proactively say that we're coming so that if there's a quorum ahead of time? Should we respond to those emails and say yes?
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic. I try to remember to send out a reminder at some point during the day before. Today's was a little late, but as soon as you can't make it, say I send the meeting request out usually about 2-3 weeks in advance. If you can't make it, just let me know, and please remember, don't respond to all. Or if something comes up, up into the meeting or something like that, you can always text me or call me or whatever. But that way we're not assembling Tim and the rest of the staff that's watching and stuff. We can just say, okay, we don't have a quorum, we're done. So, yeah, that'd be great.
The other thing I'd like to request is if we have to cancel meetings because of staff unavailability or whatever, that it's done well ahead of time, at least 2 weeks' notice, because it certainly messed my schedule up last year with having to cancel stuff.
Yeah, I think with this published schedule for the next year, I think that's going to not only help you folks on the commission, but it's going to help us as well. So,
Yeah, I would anticipate that the challenge is going to be in the summer months,
yeah,
in July and August in particular. But with enough advance notice, I think we can deal with those kinds of issues. So,
yeah.
okay. Do we require a motion to
Yes.
approve the calendar?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion for the,
I'll move to approve the calendar as proposed.
okay, is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the calendar as published. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay,
One thing I'd like to address real quick, it's not on the agenda, it's regarding training. At this meeting, we talk about the training, the open public records request, or open public meeting training and stuff like that. And just for the record, I'll let you know that all of you are up to date. That's why it's not on the agenda. So it's not an issue for us. So you guys don't, at this point, have to watch all those wonderful videos again. So we're in good shape.
how long does that approval last?
I'm not certain. I suspect that we'll be watching videos at this time next year, though. So,
Oh, okay,
4 years, I just learned. So we're good.
that's better than 2 or 3.
Yes.
Okay, so the meeting schedule done. We solicited information, or a request for information about people wanting to be included in subcommittees. And I know Byron responded. I think he was probably the only person that responded. But-
That's one of our agenda items. I can jump right into it if you'd like.
Sure, let's
Okay.
do that.
So we've talked on a couple occasions about creating subcommittees within the Marina Advisory Commission. The Marina Advisory Commission is largely been just a wonderful sounding board for me and the city, and you've worked with the city council and provided recommendations. You certainly provided me a lot of great direction with all the years of voting and wisdom that some of you have. So to move this to the next step, to get this commission actively involved in what's happening on the marina at the ground level, we've come up with the idea of creating subcommittees. And when I first introduced that, there was a lot of interest from you folks from that. So now is the day, today is the day where we're going to actually talk about subcommittees. And then if that's something you wish to pursue, then we'll make a motion to create subcommittees. And then we're going to dive into what subcommittees we want to create. I think that, over the years, as we've worked on things, rates and just everything, we've kind of had this in effect, but we haven't had it officially, and we've had it as a large body. Now what the subcommittees will look like are maybe 2 or 3 people from the commission working with marina staff or city staff to work on these. And then once, as you work on these, and we'll have meetings and talk about them and stuff, you'll report back to the rest of the commission about what's going on. So it's kind of handing the meeting back over to you, getting you more involved in the projects that are going on, and just taking an active role in what we're doing as a marina staff, as a city staff, to make the marina a better place. I will say that some of these commissions I will not be a part of. I can only do so much. So it's likely that some of these commissions could be working with members of the staff, Elise, Stephanie, Duncan, Danny, whoever. And so that'll actually get them involved in these meetings as well, which will be pretty good. So I see it as a win-win for both the staff, and I see it as a win-win for the commission as well. Ideally, I think that we should start with somewhere between 2, 3, 4 maybe at the most commissions or subcommittees. Maybe it's only 2, I don't know. Some of the ones that I came up with, and it's certainly not an all-inclusive list, I'd love to hear if you guys have something that you would like to create a subcommittee for. and then we'll, eventually take a vote on the ones. But the ones that I've identified are the dredging project, which may include the breakwater reconfiguration in channel dredging, the government grant and finance committee, event planning. One of the things we want to do this summer is have an event at the Marina almost every weekend. That's something the council's asked for, just to bring the public down there. Doesn't have to necessarily be an event put on by the Marina, but just a Marina event that the Marina's hosting. Another subcommittee could be new business and revenue development. And then one that I think is really neat is repair and maintenance. There's a ton of repair and maintenance that goes on down there. And we like to think that we're always repairing and maintaining the main things that are important, but maybe they're not so important to our tenant. Maybe they're like, well, we could get by with that. We'd rather you guys work on this. So, as we talk about this and dive into it, I guess the first question is there an interest from this commission in creating subcommittees? And-
Absolutely.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think we discussed that and agreed some time ago that subcommittees might be a way to facilitate our decision-making process and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. And it provides more wisdom to staff too. We can't
I don't know
think of
about
everything all of the time. So having said that, we would like to have subcommittees. Does someone want to make a motion for that as well, the creation of that?
Should we consider which subcommittees?
That'll be the next step.
Oh, okay.
I move we move along with the subcommittee idea.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we add subcommittees to our list of responsibilities, so forth. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Okay, we'll put it up for a vote then. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Chris, what do you recommend as the initial subcommittees, the formulation?
Out of this list of 5, if I were to select 3, I would certainly say dredging. I would say government grant and finance. And then, it's a tough one on the third one. They're all 3 pretty good, but I think that's stretching us way too thin. Maybe,
Chris, I would say repair and maintenance.
yeah,
I think
that's a good one.
I think that makes the most sense.
That's hands-on on the, not
You bet.
hands-on on the dock, but that's at the dock level
You
that
bet.
we do every day. Are there any others that you guys have thought about?
It seems our biggest challenge of the marina lasting is getting the city to vote on raising taxes, creating a port district, something, so some sort of community outreach. I don't know if that falls under the finance one, but somebody needs to be out there beating the drum that, like, the marina adds value to the community, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the repairs don't matter if the thing is getting torn out in a few years.
So it's interesting you bring that out. On the 21st of this month, which is next week, we are going to have a conversation, and I was going to bring it up later, with the council about trying to get authorization to move forward with the port district. It's tentatively scheduled, so that's a good one. And I guess the question, would that fall in with the dredging, or would that be, because we call it dredging, but it's all encompassing. Or would that be too much for one? I mean, would we want to split that up into 2? Like, if the council approves us, if we are able to get on the schedule, would that be too much? Dredging and reconfiguration of the marina and the channel, plus support, or does it go hand in hand?
Well, you mentioned grants as part of that too, and do you really see the subcommittee being involved in the grant writing process?
I think it's seeking out grants. I see the subcommittee being a sounding board for the grants that we do write. There's not a lot of them out there. The other side of that is finance. So, working with me on the reports and just reviewing where we are financially each month before the meeting, that sort of deal.
Yeah, I think the Port District certainly, to me, falls under the government grant and finance, and that's a government operation. And I would consider that committee to be looking at, going to the council and seeing, what options are available for, B&O tax, general obligation bonds, all those kind of things. I think those are the things that committee should be considering.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that.
It seems like we've got two separate things, though. I mean, finance and grants, all that, that's long-term and never ends. And then we've got sub-projects. Hey, we need the finances to dredge. So that, that's an outpouring or a project that kind of comes from that. So, I mean, do we separate them or?
What if we had just a proposal, like 3 committees? One is short-term maintenance, one is long-term big projects, and then a third that is like the finance of it. Because there's only 6 of us, so I don't think dividing it up into smaller chunks is really going to help. We're just going to end up on more committees.
Yeah.
But that seems to cover a lot of what you've talked about, is having short-term, long-term, and then the workings of it.
So then the Port District would fall under the finance piece of it?
Yeah, I don't know what you want to call that committee, but
Maybe it's semantics, but I feel like doing all the legwork and the paperwork and that dealing with the reps is one side, but somebody has to get out there and get the community to understand that, like, event planning might be a better fit, because getting people to understand, like, why should somebody that doesn't have a boat vote to increase taxes so that all of us can keep our boats there? Like, that's the battle we're really fighting, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know where that fits, but I think that's the biggest challenge.
Well, I think if we're looking at a port, I think then we should do the event planning, because then we'll have the literature out there, what we're doing, we're showing why it's important, and we have that, people are coming, like we're talking about trying to set up something for the kayaks, so we're actually showing them something instead of just giving them a meeting and say, here it is, and explaining, and maybe have a little tour for people that are willing to go out in the boat just for a little bit, or the kids. And I think that kind of, because otherwise you're not going to get the town, there's very few people, they don't come. So, I'm hoping that when we get the island transit thing situated here, that maybe more people will come into the boating community and come here, and more people will see that it's important. So, anyway, just an idea.
Any other comments?
So we settled on a name for these subcommittees? This is up to you guys.
I don't know if we had any clarity that came out of that.
Yeah. I'm hearing, short-term maintenance and events.
Short-term maintenance, long-term maintenance, and then finance.
Well, I'm editorializing a little bit and looping those two together. And then the financial structure, including grants, that's a big deal, and I question whether we have the capability at the city level about writing grants and so forth. Have they hired a new grant writer person or a firm?
We do have a really good grant writer. Her name is Wendy. She's wonderful.
Hey, Chris and Ken, I think we're getting lost in the weeds here on this subcommittee thing. I think because we're a small commission and we all have a responsibility to be involved with almost every one of these ideas that you placed here before us, the idea of subcommittees is a good idea. And I think realistically, we should probably only have 2. One, for a subcommittee of members of this group to be intimately involved in the dredging project, and from all aspects. And Byron knows dredging, and who knows, Louis may know this stuff, and we could find some real expertise to focus on this, and not to the exclusion of all the other members, but just to focus on that. And I think what else is also important is the repair and the maintenance of the marina itself. And I think we should all have a vested interest in that, but I myself would like to personally get involved in the repair and the maintenance and work with Elise and Duncan and Danny and on the everyday repair and maintenance of keeping our asset going for a period of time. And I think that lends itself to a subcommittee. So I think rather than, we all have a responsibility for all of these things, to be involved and to be aware, and let's narrow the focus down and because as Joshua says, I mean, we could, I read in the paper that the B&O tax is almost a done deal, and the city is going to act on that, right, Barbara? That's before the council now, correct?
Yeah, we're looking at it.
So, so we don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I would suggest that we narrow the focus of this subcommittee down to probably just 2 and see how that works and not neglecting any of the other things.
Okay, good points. Meyer?
Yeah, I agree with JJ, except that I think the number one most important thing that we have to deal with right now is funding for what's going to happen here. And I think we need to be involved with the city council. We need to know if the B&O tax is being talked about, if what that's going to look like. Are those funds going to go to other departments? And then we need to see how much money is involved in those things, and we need to figure out what we're going to do to supplement that, which it's going to have to be something. So to me, that's the most important committee is working on funding.
I think we're working, we're hitting the port thing really hard. We're doing a lot of work with trying to make that go. I know we've talked about B&O. I should have been more aggressive before. And we'll make sure that we bring it up. And I'm also going to say that it needs to go to the marina. We don't need to divide it. I mean, everybody else has kind of got their own thing. They've got better grant writing. They've got funding for, parks and all this other stuff. We do not have any other revenue except for the marina. That's it. I mean, we really don't have much revenue, so if we're going to get some of this stuff done, yes, we could do bond or whatever we're going to do, but I think the marina should have it. But I'm only one of the group, but that's how I personally feel. We've lagged so far behind for so long that, now we've hit bottom, and so I think we're going to have to make that sacrifice. I mean, everybody else has grants. The grant writer has been getting marvelous things done, and so we are not in the grant situation now, so all I can do is try. That's my goal.
Chris, if I remember, the Whidbey News Times just recently had an article about the B&O, about the suggested B&O tax, and even identified the amount of businesses that made more than X amount of dollars. So it's apparently more than this. It appears to be front burner at the council. So am I wrong in assuming that?
No, I think you're right, but I think the big initial push, the thing that we're going to hopefully do on the 21st, and that's still tentative a little bit, is move forward with the Port District, get that ball rolling. That's not something that the council can necessarily enact like a B&O tax. B&O tax, they just voted, and then it is what it is. But the Port District, as you know, is a big process. It's going to require bringing a consultant in and all that stuff. So the key is if they want to do that, we need to get rolling now so we can get it on a ballot in the next election or the one following that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Port District, even if we can get it passed in some, that's still a long range funding option,
Yep.
and that's not going to help us with a dredging project. It's just not. It's not going to be up and running soon enough. And I think, if you look back a year ago from this date, I don't think we've made any progress on funding this dredging project. I think we've been spinning our wheels, and I think there is urgency involved in this project, and I think somehow we need to communicate that to the council. We need to come up with some urgent type of funding, and to me, that's the crux of the whole thing. Without that, I don't think we're going to have a marina for very much longer.
I agree with you, and that's what's attractive with the B&O tax, because that can be enacted by the council. Once the council enacts it, I don't know what the time frame is for collecting it and stuff, but I would bet it's a lot quicker than the Port District.
What kind of dollar amounts are we talking about? Estimate?
There's several options on the table. The one that I keep hearing the most about is taxing I believe it's over $5 million in revenue businesses. That would generate roughly $800,000 a year.
I think in the context of subcommittees, like we can't really separate the funding aspect from the dredging. Short of going out there with shovels, like a subcommittee is not
Yeah.
going to get it done.
Yeah.
So I think that there could be a subcommittee that's focused on these big projects of the channel and the marina rebuild and dredging, with the main focus of funding those projects. But that seems like one thing. I don't know how you can separate those.
This is the commission's decision to make.
Well, and I think you actually said it very well earlier, like, there is the short term. Without that, everything kind of falls apart. But if you don't save for retirement, AKA the port, of course, tomorrow. So you've got to have them kind of going at the same time.
I think we could divide it into things happening this year and things happening over the next decade. I don't know what to call that.
Well, be short and long-term goals,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'd have to define that carefully.
And it ties into what you were bringing up, Josh, where, community outreach. The port's going to take a lot of that. If we want that to pass, we've got to really reach everyone.
I think we have to remember that we don't have to hit the nail on the head right here today. We just want to get something started, and we can adjust on the fly, say, wow, this port thing is huge, and that subcommittee could say, we just need some help with that, and shift people around and do that sort of thing.
It takes a high level of expertise to guide that whole process. There's a lot of moving parts to formulation of a port district.
And I believe the city will get a consultant for that, to lead and guide that process, whatever that looks like. I'm not familiar with that, but that's what I.
Part of my concern is that that is probably a good long-term solution to long-term funding and so forth, but as Byron mentioned, that doesn't help us today, which is, we're trying to plan for and get permits for a dredging project that we can't fund. And I don't know how you get there from here. And it's certainly not with a port district, because it takes a long time to get that approved.
I thought the
and
B&O
to
tax and
accumulate
the
enough
renewed
money.
bonds covers the dredging. Can't we cover like just that, but nothing else?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
The B&O tax combined with getting the new bonds after the current ones run out, I thought that would cover dredging the marina, not the channel, not fixing the marina, but keeping our boats off the dirt at least.
Right, so
No, I mean, we couldn't afford that. I mean.
Well, with the B&O tax and the
Yeah,
new bond.
We
Yeah.
still have no idea how B&O tax would be divided, because as soon as there's a tax, it's not going to be just the marina who can weigh in. There's going to be every special interest in the city is going to weigh in saying they want part of it, much like LTAC money. And so last time we dredged, what was our total bond obligation? It was no more than $4 million, right?
Right.
And now we're talking about well over $11 million, and the marina tenants could not afford to do that, no matter how much we get in terms of B&O money. So that would be quadrupling what we pay today in terms of so it's not just the the marina revenue and the bonding ability that would have to go in to pay for that. It would have to be some sort of subsidy, or no one can afford to keep their boats there. You'd be paying more than Elliott Bay, so.
So with the subcommittees, and your point is valid, JJ, thank you. With the subcommittees, I'm hearing short-term maintenance, long-term maintenance, which would include, short-term would be your basic day-to-day tasks, repair and maintenance, those sorts of things. Maybe projects that are a year or less, and that's what the staff plans out, those kind of things. And then the long-term would be, you know, beyond a year, and encompass dredging, the breakwater, that sort of thing. And then the third piece I'm hearing a lot of pull on is of some sort of financial piece, which could include the Port District, but so could the long-term planning. So the decision that has to be made, if you're going to go with those three buckets of subcommittees, where do you want the Port District, where do you want the B&O tax to fall in there? That's the discussion there.
Anybody have an idea or a motion?
I feel like you could put the Port District with the, was there a finance piece that you said? Because that would be more long-term finances, and then the B&O tax could be more like the long-term dredging project aspect of it.
Thank you.
In terms of forming subcommittees, it looks to me like we should start out in the general area of short-term projects like 1 year or less, and capital projects, long-term capital projects.
Okay. So we could call that capital projects or long-term capital projects, whatever you guys want to call it. Okay.
And
Just start with those two.
failing in any of those two areas is going to mean a failure of the marina. Because that's one thing that puzzles me, is that there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency or panic about the current condition of the marina. And we're one storm away from having no marina. A good strong westerly, and it takes it all out.
Those pretty consistent 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning wake-ups that I have,
Yeah,
let me assure you there is an urgency.
yeah.
There is an
Yeah.
urgency.
I understand that, and I appreciate the fact that you have that sense of urgency, but I'm saying the rest of the community doesn't have that sense of
Right.
urgency.
That's where the events and stuff are going to fall into it, showing the people what we have to offer. That the marina is more than just keeping a boat there. I mean, the wildlife is amazing. Just walking the docks, it's a great place to walk, so,
Yeah,
and miles and miles.
I agree, and getting some sort of cooperation from the Navy so that the walkway doesn't end at the fenced area behind the buildings down there, would help considerably and would provide some additional leverage, I think, because it would involve more people in the area, certainly users of the marina
That
facilities.
hasn't come up lately, has it, Chris?
No,
I hadn't thought so.
no.
That's it got swept under the rug with the general considerations about base security. And it's just easier to hide behind the fences you have and put locks on the gates than it is to allow access and so community access to those kinds of things. And I understand the thought process, but I don't understand the conclusions that, somehow terrorists are going to take over the administration down there and the 7-Eleven store or whatever it is, and the convenience store and the commissary and the exchange, and it's silly. There is one strategic element down there, which is the fuel transfer pier. I get that, but that's a very small footprint as far as an area to protect, and protecting the entire area just seems like somebody's missing the point somewhere. And perhaps as a voice for that area of concern, we need to be making that point more sincerely to the council and the other people in charge. But just to get to the point of summarizing things, I'm hearing, like I said, the 1 year, and then there's the long-term capital planning.
Yeah. All we need is a motion to make it happen, and then we talk about who's doing what.
Okay.
I move that we create the two subcommittees of the short-term, less than 1 year projects and capital projects.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And the motion's been made and seconded that we focus on two areas for subcommittee consideration. That would be the short-term maintenance and then the long-term capital projects. Is that a fair assumption or summary? Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
By saying aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay,
Okay.
I just don't think we've sorted this out enough. I think, Craig, frankly, we need to do more staff work on this. And I think anything we do today and create a subcommittee will not be defined well enough to achieve the desired results. I think we're spinning our wheels here with this. We're trying to fit something into a box, and we don't know what the box is yet. So I would rather see this staffed a little bit more and come up with a better idea than just this.
I think we can, yeah, there is an issue there of fleshing out the ideas and putting more definition to that sort of scenario.
Did you guys just vote to approve this?
Yeah, it's been approved.
Okay. I thought so. I thought I missed something there for a second.
no.
So, all right.
No, it has been approved. The motion passed, so.
Let me ask, Chris, how would you envision this would work? Say we have, these two committees. Are the committee members going to sit in on dredging recommendations and on
Yeah, brief.
Are they going to listen to the, say, city finance about funding issues, or what, how are we going to work it?
So I think using dredging as an example, the committee members, the subcommittee members for this for this long-term capital improvements would have the option of sitting in on the meetings that we have with our Moffett Nichols, that sort of thing. They'd want to be part of the workshops that we have with city council, and then be at the city council meetings to, support what we're doing. I think another element of this is just ground level meetings with the subcommittee, and I would be part of that one specifically, in talking about what the options are, recapping the meetings that we had with our consultants, that sort of deal. And then finally, coming to the Marina Advisory Commission, and giving an update to them. We had a meeting on this. This is what we talked about. We had that sort of thing. So it's kind of getting active in the project and having a voice in it. That's how I would envision it going. And then as far as support district, using that as an example, being here like if we get on the agenda for next Tuesday, being here for that and hearing what the council has to say, speaking up when they ask if there's public comment, how you would feel about that. And then again, as we work with the consultant on that and move through that process, championing that process, and then getting active with the community in there. And frankly, I see all of you as part of that, because that's going to be a big, big push, and that's going to be a ton of work. So we'll need more than just a couple people on that. Eventually, everybody will be a part of that in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of how I see them operating and working.
Has a decision been made at the city level, city council level, to pursue a port district, formation of a port district?
That's what we're going to be talking about hopefully on the 21st. That's what we're going to be asking for. Is that still? Yeah, Brian says we're doing that, so.
And that's going to include the financial aspects of what you can expect from a port district, the levy systems limitations and so forth?
No, at this meeting, we're going to be going over the election process for a Port District from the RCWs. We'll talk about funding for an election process, as well as funding for a consultant to advise the city during that. As far as, proceeds or tax rates or things like that, if a Port District will be put in place, that'll be a discussion for another time. We're just getting an answer from council. Would you like staff to engage in activities to pursue an election campaign for a Port District?
Okay. And is there a body of knowledge anywhere in the city that understands what formation of a port district entails?
So Chris and I and our finance director have been working with legal, and we have another meeting with them. We're all trying to get as expertised in this as we can.
There's a reason why there hasn't been a port district approved in the state of Washington in about 35 years. It's difficult.
Yeah. So Julie Nestor, who's our city clerk, she worked for the Port of Anacortes for 20-something years.
20-plus years.
Yeah. And she actually helped us develop the agenda bill for the next council meeting. She has quite a bit of expertise in it, knowledge on the background of the workings of it and whatnot. But you're right. It has been a long time since a new port has been created. We're also working with John with the Port Authority Association in helping develop this. We have a lot of support from
who's John?
He's the president of the Washington Port Authority
Oh.
Association. Yeah. So the association, the ports, they had a conference in December. Oak Harbor was the talk of the conference, and there is a lot of support for it. People are excited about the possibilities that could happen. You saw, legislative support for Oak Harbor in adding our breakwater and the channel to that legislative bill that Rick Larson put forward for evaluation by the Army Corps of Engineers and possible future maintenance of those. And a big kudos to Councilor Arms for aggressively following after Rick Larson until we got that in the agenda bill.
Does the city in general understand that formation of a port district would essentially eliminate
The city
this body and
Yeah.
everything related to the marina at the city level?
Yeah, we've made that a point of what are the pros and the cons and the impacts in the city, and right. So we have a number of financial strategies to renovate or replace the marina into the future, and the city's control over most of those goes away as soon as the port district is created and that's transferred over to them. There's still some questions about, the Navy's land lease and how that transfer works. There's a lot of things to work through. It's very complicated.
Okay.
Right now, is the marina the only thing being thought of as transferring into a port, or are there other assets that might fit into that well?
No other city assets at the moment, but a port district would go from, I would imagine, from the boundary of the Coopville Port District up to, the top of North Whidbey, right? And a port district engages a lot more economic development activity than just a marina. And the campaign really would have to focus on that. It's an economic development engine and a legislative body that can enact, tax proceeds and utilize those allocations. The city would be helping to create a very close partner that has a lot of influence over the direction of development of the city into the future.
Brian, I'm surprised to hear you say the city's been working on financial strategies for funding the marina. I haven't heard of any financial strategies really, other than everything comes out of the marina tenants. Shouldn't we know what some of these strategies are?
Yeah, and I'd be happy to have the finance director or the city administrator come and talk about those. They've been working on all kinds of different things. So this is probably the number one priority for the city.
Yeah, well, okay. I think that's something that this committee should be privy to, because That's kind of what we're here for, I think.
Do the legal and consulting fees around looking at a port district, how much of that gets passed to the marina? Because if it's impacting all of the city,
Yeah.
and
And
we're
the-
already
and the-
negative every month, adding expensive lawyers and consultants sounds
Yeah.
potentially going backwards.
Yeah, and the city's, very aware and sensitive to that. If we pursue this, we have marina operations that are going on, how do we not impact that? So, we have, I can't remember the exact amount, it's a little over 600,000 of an economic development grant that we've asked for half of that to be repurposed specifically for the expenses related to this, so that it's not an impact to the marina fund.
Okay, so, based on the prior motion about relegating subcommittees to various tasks and so forth, that would fall under the facilities and long-term planning
Yes.
section.
Yeah.
So we're going to want to solicit people that have an interest in those subcommittees. The two would be long-term capital projects and so forth. And as I understand it, the other one would be the shorter-term projects, maintenance and that sort of thing. Is that, okay, so we're soliciting a level of interest from some of you to be included in those subcommittees.
Considering my age, I probably should be volunteering for the short-term planning, but I would much rather do the long-term capital projects.
We don't discriminate based on age.
I'd be more interested in the short-term projects. I think that aligns with the experience I do have. I don't feel like I have the experience or really the drive for the long-term projects.
Okay. Anyone else want to volunteer for one of those categories?
I think the short-term projects are really, really important to keep this marina going, while we fight for money. And I'd be willing to certainly spend time with the staff and get my hands dirty that way.
I'd be interested in the long term, especially port and all that.
Okay.
Long-term.
Louis? Okay, long-term. You're taking this down, Chris? So
Yeah, so far we have Byron, Louis, and Josh on the long term, and Gabe and JJ on the short term.
And I would include myself in the long-term projects and stuff.
Okay, that puts 4 people
Probably
on
both
that.
of them.
That's quite a few, but we can do
Yeah.
that if you want.
Ideally, we would have less than a quorum, so that we don't have to go through all the noticing and recording and all that for each committee.
Is, a quorum is 5, right?
All of them.
4? Oh,
You don't have to jump in
no, I don't.
You
I
can
can,
be
I can audit,
You could be El Jefe.
yeah.
What if you're just sitting at the next table drinking a coffee?
Yeah. Okay, just to get the ball rolling, though, I'll take my name off the list for the long-term projects and so forth, but I will still be interested in that, of course. But because the way subcommittees work is that they are subdivisions of this body, and they don't make unilateral decisions. They come to this body for decisions and recommendations to the city council. So,
That's correct, but if we have a quorum, then it could be custodied.
yeah,
of meetings.
yeah, and we want to stay away from that just
Yeah, we
because
do.
of the additional reporting requirements and education requirements and such. Is that
We all remember
Clear.
those training videos.
Of course, of course, yeah. Okay, well, let's take a run at this structure and the membership of these subcommittees and so forth, and see where it takes us.
Can I ask, and put
Sure.
one piece of interest one piece of input in? And Grant, you are available to serve on these if you wish, and maybe short-term would be a good way if you could somehow fit it into your
Yeah,
school
I
schedule.
would be interested on the short-term one.
So that puts 3 on each one. And Ken, you're just there.
All right. Update on facilities, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I really have 2 pieces of exciting news to share with you. One, Representative Larson did include the Oak Harbor Marina in the WRDA bill. Water.
What does that mean?
Water Resources Development Act bill, pointing back to 1996, Section 504A, instructing the Army Corps of Engineers to investigate dredging the channel and building us a new breakwater and then maintaining both. Not really sure what the next steps on that are, but it's exciting and it starts a conversation at least. So there'll be more to follow on that as we work through that. The second part of really exciting news is I know that 3 or 4 of you were around when we used to have Island Transit bus service to the marina and how that worked really well in the summer for our guests and even some of our tenants, as a matter of fact. That has been reestablished under their on-demand schedule. It is already in act, and you've probably seen or will see some signs around the marina in the restrooms and the sign holder, an article in the newsletter, that sort of deal. So we're really excited about that, and we thank Barbara for her hard work in both of those because she spearheaded those. So thank you. As far as the
What schedule is that on, by the way?
it's just you just call and they come pick you up.
And how?
Yeah, but where do they go?
We're going to figure that out.
Yeah, we have a
We're
meeting
meeting-
Thursday to get the details.
Well, we're meeting with, we got this far. We got an
Okay.
actual document. This
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
me talking to you. This is an actual document, that thanks to Chris and all his hard work. He got that with the, Selena, and we are going to talk about what it's going to mean, how we're going to do. I'm also, as soon as our new Main Street person, we have a new person in Main Street that's in charge, and as soon as she gets back she's going to be going on vacation, as soon as she's going to go back, I'm going to talk to her how we can incorporate that advertisement or do something with the marina with Main Street. So that's.
So both of them are in the early stages, but they're both really exciting. That's how we get people from FDOC to downtown simply.
So do we envision that you go, you call them, they come and pick you up and take you wherever you want? Or is it going to be a,
They'll take you to the transfer station or to the next bus stop or wherever. All of that's yet to be determined.
okay.
Yeah. That'll be good. Yeah.
And then come back to the marina.
Ideally, yeah.
Yep.
That was the problem with, as I understand it, with the previous setup was it was an adjunct to one of the routes that took people way up north to the Navy base and so forth, and finally made its way back down to where the shopping areas and restaurants and so forth are. And people that tried it didn't like it.
Well, we're going to change that. We're going to see what it's
Good.
all about when we meet with
Good.
them on Thursday.
Good.
So that's exciting. I'm pretty jazzed about both those. The marina is feeling the effect of the questionable marina future.
Yeah.
We have had people leaving and stating that. So staff is trying their best to paint the rosy picture and let them know what we know at this point. So we would appreciate some help with that as you guys circulate around the docks. Dredge update, we're going to do some more sampling and testing and stuff like that. Still waiting to get those permits processed, so things are looking good there.
The
And then-
permits are for sampling?
No, permits for the dredge project.
Oh, overall,
Some more
okay.
sampling of the
They're asking for more samples
Yes.
from where in the marina?
We're going to combine some samples of near shore with some deeper water
Okay.
and see what the levels of toxicity are if you combine those two
Yeah.
and see what the best options for disposing of the spoils are. There's many different ways that can be done, from just mixing them, digging from 2 different areas and mixing them, dumping them in a layered effect in the big hole out there, to other ways. So they're trying to figure out the best way to do that and what the options may be.
Have you seen where the Swinomish Channel spoils have been dumped?
No, where?
right out past Woodby 2.
Oh.
If you go out past Woodby 2 on the, towards Camino Island, that's where they're dumping them all.
Wow.
Yeah, Woodby 2.
Huh. Our dump zone is, there's two of them we've identified. One's up by Orcas. That's the one we do not want to use. And then the second one is the one that we've used traditionally. Port Gardner, I believe is the name of it, down by
Yeah, down by
Everett.
Everett, yeah.
And
Hat
that's
Island.
the preferred one, which has no mix in it. So that's why they're trying to figure out the best way to dump it in there.
Who makes that final decision?
It's the Army Corps of Engineers and NOAA, and it's combined. Yeah, it's not easy. But
It
is what
seems as though, just stepping back for a moment and looking at the layered process that we go through every time we try to do capital improvements and so forth, it seems as though the, DNR or somebody has declared war on residential recreational marinas. Just as a commentator, that would be my conclusion. And the whole theory of mitigation and stuff is part of that, because it's, okay, we don't have money for the projects that we want to do. So because you have a source of funds, we're going to legally extort money from you to go into our pet projects. Isn't that essentially what they do?
I think that the best thing I can say, because I work with these guys, is all of it's very hard, is the
It
best
is
thing I
hard.
could say at this point. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
it's very hard.
For the benefit of whoever's listening to this and so forth, I think they need to understand the gravity of the situation, that the powers that be at the state level don't seem to want to see anything succeed that is related to in-water, saltwater use. And, they can float plans and do all kinds of things and so forth. But the net result is it's extremely difficult to do anything. And I'm not talking about just the marina, I'm talking about our prior efforts to utilize, the Flintstone Park as an anchor for, anchor is probably the wrong term to use, but to use it as a basis for a community pier that would be a transit facility, essentially. And I don't know, I wonder if they've lost their way somehow, and are there people that we should be talking to at the state level?
We do have elected officials that we can talk to.
Yeah.
But what's really exciting and what's working, and I know it's going to be the highlight of this meeting for at least one of you, is our cohort arriving next week or the week after. So that's good news. That's a community project that pays off in a way to get people down there and get the kids down there and get them enthusiastic about the marina and boats, because when they come down there, they're excited about the fish, but they look at all those boats and, maybe that's planting a seed. We don't know.
So is there any special event that's surrounding this, the arrival of these fish? Or the potential arrival? We don't know if they're gonna,
The Copper River fish.
yeah.
What we typically do is the trucks come, and there's a ton of pipe that we have to lay down from the hoist pier down to by the field dock where the pens are. And so we get that all set up, and that's a lot of hard work. And then the fish come, and we get pictures of people holding the hose.
So you're
and-
talking about the arrival of the fingerlings?
Yes.
You're not talking about the arrival of the mature fish?
Oh, those. Yeah, we're starting to see those come back already, but they have to come to the marina first. And then so we get the pipe laid out, the fish get launched through the air. It's really neat. You guys are welcome to come, and I'll send you the date and time once we solidify it. And then we clean the pipe up and put the lids on the pens, and then we have a bunch of pizza and soda and coffee and stuff. So it's a fun event. So yes, there is something. But as far as the return of the fish, we haven't seen a big enough return yet. We've seen a lot, But this next upcoming, it should be really, really good. We have seen seals chasing them around the marina. We've seen schools of them over by the launch ramp dock, believe it or not far from JJ's boat. And we've seen them out circling around between E and F dock as well, so. But
Talking
not
about
just
the
masses,
fish
but
or the seals?
the fish. The seals are not far behind though, typically. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's really spectacular to see the seals pin them up on the rocks along the shoreline. It's fun to watch, so. But that is coming. That'll definitely be an event when we start getting back and forth.
Isn't the justification for most of these projects feeding orcas and not seals?
Yeah, that's it, definitely. You got to remember, there's only about a 10% return, so 3,000 is the target number. I would say the justification is really threefold. It's, Governor Inslee's thing, and then the classroom, and then getting sport fishing back in this area, which brings people to the marina.
Mhm.
Used to be a big thing, as some of you might remember, catching
Oh,
salmon
yeah.
just right out here.
Mhm.
So, really, that's the update. The staff is doing amazingly well. We're really fortunate to have them. They all have their own talent and their own niche, and it just kind of all blends together and works. So I'm thankful for them more than anything, actually.
Have you ordered any dock carts?
No. I did look at them, though, but I got sidetracked, so.
Dog carts.
That's a short-term memory is what it is.
Spend
I
the
did
money,
look.
Chris.
Do we have, yeah,
Yeah.
do we have any other comments from the commission on?
I have a couple. Chris,
Okay,
any
good.
chance on getting a coffee truck or something to spend the summer down there? Has anybody come to the city saying, boy, I'd really like to set up a coffee truck out there?
No,
No.
we tried that a few times.
I know.
And it didn't fly, but maybe I love to tell people Orlando's was there, and that was great. People really
Yeah.
enjoyed that, but, then they got their restaurant and stuff, so. But what I would love to start someday, and maybe this is the someday, is to get an extra city employee maybe down there and as a seasonal or what have you, and have a hot dog cart and soda and coffee and that sort of deal, just right there in that cement pad.
Yeah,
So something like that might be.
that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Have you thought of like a food truck meetup, like Saturday? Like they probably can't afford to be there all day every day because people there's not that. But if it was like an event on Saturday or once a month, get more of the community out there and.
Yeah.
I'd go to that.
That's a really good idea. What we found when we tried it 2 or 3 times, I don't remember, is that the food trucks are committed to the big festivals in the summer, and there's one almost every weekend, so they're heading in that direction during our busiest day, and you can't fault them for that. But if we did something at our level, then it would be there all the time.
We do have a food truck in town.
We
It's
do.
by the old Woodby Bank. It's there all the time. That might be something to
The
ask.
wandering Asian guy. Yeah, and there's the guy out there on Goldie Road, there's a
But
number.
Write
there's
'em down.
also a coffee truck on the base side, right next to the NEX. But they didn't want to go through the loop of trying to get okayed on our side of Oak Harbor. I gave them the paperwork, but they just stayed there. So I did give them the paperwork and tried to encourage them, so there you are. But they are there. You can go right by the fence if you have to go first.
Chris, are you going to put the monitor back up on the side of the building?
We are. By the time we got it resited,
Yeah.
it was the
It was
rainy
cold,
season was
yeah.
coming and stuff, and we thought, we'll just wait until the spring. We may put 2 up, but 1 for sure where it was. People seem to really enjoy that.
Perhaps we could get one that was daylight viewable.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was really hard. Those things are great.
Yeah.
But as long as you can read them.
Yep.
I imagine the city could probably get us a daylight viewable monitor.
Yeah.
The last thing I saw is, are you at all concerned about the fact that we're only 78% occupied right now?
Well, that goes back to
Yeah.
the comment earlier, of we're feeling the effects.
Right.
Typically, this time of the year, we're in I think the list said we were down about 3 or 4% compared to this
Right.
time last year. The answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As people come to us and say, what's the future of the marina? I got an offer to go here or there. And, what am I going to do with my 40-foot boat if you close? And, I've been on this wait list for years. We tell them at this point, we believe that the marina is solid and viable and going to be there. But I can't guarantee that to you. We're not encouraging them to leave, but we're not discouraging them from leaving either. We're just telling them what we know at this point.
And our revenue is not down because we haven't had any really major, huge expenses, correct?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. And our revenue, it could be deceiving in a sense because we just had an increase compared to this time last year. So if the occupancy drops, but the increase is there, it could look like, we treaded water with last year, or we're about where we were
You're talking about
last
the
year.
increase in mortgage rates.
In mortgage rates, yeah.
Yeah.
How are we doing Marina Reserve wise? I mean, if Gabe pushes hard enough and we get a dozen more dock carts, we certainly have money in our reserves to pay for that, right?
Yeah, that's not an item that would come from reserves, that would come from just regular operating expenses.
Okay.
So we could afford that.
I will ask you one more time too about
Power
power
pedestals.
pedestals. I'm a big fan of that. They certainly need them in the marina.
So, short-term project,
It is a short-term project.
it is.
And it wouldn't take long to do. It's just dedicating the funds to buy those
That's
pedestals.
correct. That's correct.
I've got one more for Chris. It's been a long time since we've discussed fuel prices.
Yes.
I was just down there refueling my boat a few days ago, and Duncan spent a half hour down there on the dock fueling. So, and I figured out roughly we make 15% over and above what we pay for the fuel. Through the years, I've kind of figured that out. And when you take away Duncan's wages, I figured the marina made about $30 or $40 off of me filling up my, putting about 250 gallons of fuel in the boat. So, I think we really need to look at that. There's no reason that we can't be making some money off of our fuel sales.
We're going to be, one of the projects that we're going to need to work on this year, no, check that. That won't be this year, it'll be next year. We have the 3-year rate increase already on the books, but I think that it is possible for us to address that with the council and maybe get the fuel rates changed or whatever during the master fee schedule update. We're currently doing the master fee schedule update, so it wouldn't be this time right now, but maybe it is in a few months or so. We'll see.
That's part of the council approval of the general rate schedule?
Yes, the council's reviewing the master fee schedule, not just for the marina, but for the whole city. And there's some updates. There was some.
Because that's a formula, isn't it? It's not a number.
No, it's listed on our website. So you can go on our website and see what police charges for concealed weapons. You can go and see what the fire department charges for whatever they do, and Public Works for the special things they do. It's a big document that lists all of the prices for the
Yeah,
city.
but don't we have a formula for pricing?
For pricing fuel, yes,
For fuel?
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep,
So we may need to change the formula.
right, and that would require city council approval.
Really?
Yep, because it's a price.
Okay. Future agenda items. Other than the additional consideration of subcommittees and the membership thereof, and the ongoing discussions about kayaks and human-powered vessels, that kind of stuff, or storage of those items. What other things come to mind that we should be considering for future agendas? Getting no ideas.
I haven't given this much thought.
Okay. Well, Chris is available if and when you have.
Yeah. I think that a future event, agenda item for next month is going to be a report from the subcommittees, each one. That's going to be kind of probably short initially, but just kind of, this is, we met at least once, this is what we talked about, or there was this meeting, just a quick update. I don't expect these subcommittees to be full of a wealth of knowledge after just 1 month, but just a short, and that'll be part of the agenda each month moving forward. As I look at things around the marina, just keeping a big update on the dredge project, I would expect one next month. Also, we should know something about the Port District, and we can talk about that in depth as well. So I think that there's some things out there, but if you do have an agenda item you'd like to see on the agenda, don't hesitate to contact me. Please do not wait until the last minute, because it does take some time to put all this stuff together. So,
Chris, I had one more issue. The concrete repairs that were done, the new patch that Duncan put out there seems to be holding up pretty well on BDOC. Are you guys pleased with that?
yes, we are pleased with that. We want to give it, through the winter and see
Yeah.
how it holds up before we dive into that wholeheartedly around the rest of the marina.
Yeah,
And see, how it reacts to the vibration and the movement of the current and the wind and all that stuff.
so far it looks good out there
Yeah.
on BDOC.
Yeah.
I was encouraged by that because that'll save us some money if if you can repair the broken concrete that way. That'll be
Yep.
good.
Yep. Turned out really nice.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission, or future agenda items, or activities we should be involved in? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for the 10th of February. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
And if we have no further business, then we'll stand adjourned.